Welcome back to Wake Up America. So a federal judge becoming the second judge to block President Trump's executive order banning transgender people from military service.
But in his own special way, Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth responded over the weekend saying, since, quote, Judge Reyes is now a top military planner, they can report to Fort Benning at 0600 hours to instruct our Army Rangers on how to execute high-value target raids. After that, Commander Reyes can dispatch to Fort Bragg to train our Green Berets on counterinsurgency warfare. I have a feeling the judge is going to be AWOL this morning.
Yeah, I think so. Joining us now for more on this is senior judicial analyst Judge Andrew Napolitano. So, Judge, President Trump, Commander-in-Chief, he oversees all military operations. So can this judge step in?
You know, it's an unusual situation. She based her decision on the Civil Rights Act of '64. When the Civil Rights Act of '64, which bars the government from making decisions on the basis of race, gender, national origin, religion, etc., was enacted, there were two efforts to include, it wasn't called that at the time, LGBTQ. Both failed. It's clear that the legislators did not intend that. But when the present Supreme Court reviewed the Civil Rights Act of '64, they said because Congress used the word sex instead of the word gender, that covers LGBTQ. So under the present interpretation of federal law, the government cannot make decisions based on LGBTQ status. That's what this judge decided. I don't think she had any choice. I think the Supreme Court was wrong, because it's clear that LGBTQ was not intended to be covered by the Civil Rights Act of '64. That's one argument. The Pete Hegseth argument is the judiciary really has no competence whatsoever to make decisions on the military. And if the military decides that certain human beings are not good for esprit de corps, certain people are not good for running up a hill with 100 pounds on their backs, that's a decision for the president and the military and not the judiciary to make. So we're stuck in the middle here until the Supreme Court resolves it. They may very well say, okay, you read our interpretation on LGBTQ and the Civil Rights Act of '64 more broadly than we intended. We never intended for it to affect the military.
And we've all known for a very long time that the Bill of Rights and a lot of our basic constitutional fundamental rights do not apply to the military.
Yes.
I can order you to take that hill where you are going to die without due process.
Yes.
You gave up that right.
Yes, and when you have your uniform on, you don't have the freedom of speech. You certainly can't criticize the commander-in-chief. Do you remember the Supreme Court's decision just last year on whether colleges can use race or affirmative action in admission? And they said absolutely not, except for the military academies. Except for the military academies. Those are the only schools in the United States that can, because the court did not want to interfere with military education. So it's hard for me to predict how this is going to go.
So if you look at the numbers here of nationwide injunctions against recent presidents compared to Trump, you have judges blocking 6 executive orders from Bush, you have 12 from Obama, 64 from Trump in his first term, 14 from Joe Biden, already 15 from Trump in this term as well. We're only about 2 months in. What do you make of this?
Well, what I make of it is that he is very proactive. Nobody has, in the modern era, not even FDR, has issued executive orders as aggressively and in your face as President Trump has. He takes literally his mission to reform, to shrink the federal government, to rid it of DEI and the things that he feels shouldn't be in there. And some judges have found that what he's doing is what he promised he would do, but he's got to do it according to law. We talked about this last week. Certain people can only be fired by the secretaries of their departments, not by the president and not by DOJ. If they follow the law, there will be a lot fewer judicial interferences.
Okay.
It's much more interesting. I remember the first things you serve at the pleasure of the president. That's what we all remember.
They probably told you that when you started there.
Correct, until he no longer had the pleasure of my company.
Now we have the pleasure of
There you go.